What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. LC Carbine 10mm from Ruger, testing continued. I know you guys have been antsy about the ammo testing, so we're starting that today. We already have the rifle out today because we're doing accuracy testing with it, so stay tuned for that. We have to split that up over a few days because when we switch the optics, we have to Loctite and let it set for 24 hours. So that leaves us time today to do a gel test. And I'm actually going to do two gel tests. I'm going to combine two into one. One of the most requested or recommended ammos to put through this rifle, people want to see the speed of it out of this 16-inch barrel, is both Liberty ammos, the Overwatch and the Civil Defense. And sorry if you guys see things flying across your screen. Mosquitoes are nuts right now. We're in muggy Ohio weather right now, and it's pretty nasty. So every now and then you might see that. Now, we've tested both of these ammos before on our channel, so check out those tests. We've done it in the 5-inch 1911 and the 3.8-inch XDM Elite. Very awesome tests, and that will give you a baseline for what these things do out of pistols. Just for consistency today, we will be using a 5-inch barrel to compare this 16-inch rifle barrel to, or carbine barrel to. So we have the Colt Delta Elite 1911 out again. That'll be our baseline. And that's important because this 60 grain projectile in the Liberty Civil Defense is traveling at an advertised velocity of 2,400 feet per second out of a pistol. The carbine should really crank that up a notch. Now, this stuff has a very grenading effect when it hits tissue, but then there's a little bit of a base to it. It almost acts like a small disc or a wad cutter that continues on through the gel and leaves a deeper wound cavity after that initial pretty much explosion. When you go over here to the Liberty Overwatch, that's their newer generation pretty much of the Civil Defense. That gives you a grain weight 10 grains higher, so you're up to 70 grains, and that's going at an advertised velocity of 2,150 feet per second. The Overwatch has the same general grenading effect, but I believe it's made to go a little bit deeper. So if you haven't seen our previous videos on the LC Carbine, definitely check them out. We do an unboxing, first shots, we run some hand loads through the gun in another video, and then we do some factory ammunition also, comparing all that to pistol ammo. The velocity and foot-pound increases are incredible. We're starting to get this thing put together the way we want it. It's not totally complete yet, and we haven't decided if there's certain things we want to keep or not. I did take your advice and use a Recover Tactical Extra Magazine Holder or foregrip. I'll be giving you a separate video on this to tell you what I think about it, so keep your eyes out for that. We're not going to be doing any accuracy testing today with this specific ammunition. For that, go ahead and refer back to those pistol videos I told you about. They can be found in the 10mm ammo test series. Very extensive, very cool. I only have a couple rounds of each one of these left, so this has to go right today. I'm going to use the pistol and the rifle, like I said, to send one round through each, past this Garmin, through our other chronograph, and into these 20-inch gel blocks. Two 20-inch gel blocks for a total of 40 inches. I always have a backup block, even if I don't think it'll come out of the first one. To be specific, those are 10% clear ballistics shooter's blocks. So when you're seeing this, keep in mind, a lot of people shoot 16-inch blocks. Those are called the FBI blocks. We go for the 20-inch blocks because the calibers we shoot, not to brag or anything, tend to go a lot farther than your typical 9mm. Testing explained, let's get to shooting. All right, so we're about 12 feet off the chronograph, 15 feet off those gel blocks. I do have the Garmin set down right in front of me, and the other part of the picnic table, I have to shoot over it, but we'll show you the picture after it goes off. 60 grain, Liberty Civil Defense, Colt Delta Elite, 5-inch 1911. I'm gonna try to give you a decent shot. Let me move the chronograph real quick. All right, I had to move that to the side to adjust for where I wanna put this round, and I had to take off my glasses because they're fogging up. So I have my ballistic contacts in, and I'm going to attempt to shoot. I never shoot off a picnic table, but looks like a good shot. I hope we didn't exit the block. We have 2446 on the chronograph up there, the Caldwell, and we have 2484.1 on the Garmin. .2446, and that right there is a pretty good entrance wound. As you can see, that stuff does explode upon impact. Let me get the focus. That's a pretty cool looking star that it always makes. Don't mind that little stuff up there in the corner of the block. That's old clothing tests, and that's why I hate doing clothing tests. But let me get this block turned around so you can actually see from the other side a little better. All right, that is definitely this block's good side. It's closer to this edge, so I turn around, you can see it better. The projectile base made it to 11 inches deep, maybe a hair more. It has a nice little piercing wound cavity until it gets back to where it originally had its fragmentation and explosion. Try to get in there and show you with a little focus. There's pieces of copper and lead everywhere. That thing is no joke when it expands like that. Counting back, we're at 11, 10, 9, 8. We're going to 8 to 7 inches back. between there. So we got at least 4 to 5 inches of complete explosion. That's pretty nasty. That's a lot of foot-pounds delivered. And then again, it does go ahead and go forward, and it delivers that piercing wound channel with a piece of lead stuck in you. I'm not sure if it's face forward or face back. I don't know if it did a tumble, but we'll get it pulled out here and take a look soon. Let's take another shot. All right, everything's the same, except for now we're moving to a 16-inch carbine. So hopefully I get this shot right. I have a little bit of a holdover. I actually have so much of a holdover that I cannot use that magazine. That is a problem with using an extended magazine or a longer magazine, let's call it that. It is YouTube compliant no matter what, but it allows you to get a little bit lower if you use a lower type of a magazine. So keep that in mind with this style rifle. Or carbine, whatever you want to call it. All right, I think we got a pretty good shot. I didn't miss. I know that for sure. We have 2883 on the Caldwell. And holy smokes, 2944.9 on the Garmin. Wow. $28.83. And there's how we found the victim. Let's get it straightened out and take a look. All right, staring straight on, we do have what appears to be a more violent grenading effect. There's actually some charring right there coming out of the entrance hole. Looking at it from the side is very impressive also. That grenading effect goes about 3.5 inches, and then the projectile that was remaining, the base, stopped at about 10.5 inches. It doesn't appear to have any poke back or pushback. Sometimes you see it poke a little farther than it actually rests, but it appears that that is pretty much true. It could be a little bit farther that it went and then had a bounce, but a lot of times you would actually just see that. So it made it a little bit shorter than out of the pistol. That is to be expected, though, with all the violence that happened in the beginning. If you're looking at it from the top, you do see a little bit of deviation there. That disc doesn't exactly go true through the block, but it gets deep enough. All right, next up is the Overwatch. Remember, that has an advertised velocity of 2150. We will see how it likes the 5-inch 1911. Felt good, looks good. We got 2246 out of the Caldwell. We got 2263 out of the Garmin. .2246, and that is exactly how we found that victim. So definitely not as much grenading in the entrance wound. You can tell it starts driving deeper, quicker. Not very violent at all for something that you're used to seeing the civil defense type of stuff do. This grenading here definitely looks more controlled. It doesn't look as violent and shattery as that stuff. So you have individual pellets coming off. There's a big disruption here at the front, and that big disruption is kind of all over the place. We see petals landing at 5 inches, 6 inches. I think, yeah, that's about it. 5 and 6 inches. And then the actual path of the projectile behind it, you can follow it underneath those other tracks. That seems to be landing right there with a little air bubble behind it at a 14.5. I'd say probably it's touching 15 inches. I just got to get the camera angle right. But yeah, 15 inches. Let's go ahead and turn this block around and get a better look. All right, much better from this angle. We can see clear because it's closer to the side of the block. It did make it back all the way to the 15-inch mark, so we got that much. Now we're going to have to count back a little bit on the tape measure here for this. I'm seeing most of these blown off chunks of petal at 5.5 to 6.5 inches. 5 inches to 6.5. But there's a couple more solid pieces. Like I said, not that total grenading effect, but boy, whatever happened right there, that was a pretty darn big disruption in the tissue right there between 3 and 4 inches. Wow, that's pretty nuts. So following that track, it does deviate down, but then somehow it straightens itself back out. I don't know exactly where the orientation of the projectile is, what's left of it, but it has a little bit of a bubble around it. Pretty good stuff. It did drive 15 inches deep. All right, 16-inch barrel. This could get interesting. Let's see what happens here. We got 10 more grain weight, or 10 more grains on the grain weight, so not too different. Got to get my proper holdover. Wow. I completely saw some effects on that block. That's a lot of smoke coming out of that block. That's pretty nuts. That thing looks like it just completely caught on fire. Can't wait to see the slow motion footage from that. That's wicked. That is very impressive. Wow. It's almost like this Liberty Overwatch was made for this rifle just to have fun like that. 2621 on the Caldwell. 2659.3 on the Garmin. 2621. Well, there you go. There's that entrance wound. That was incredible with all that smoke coming out of there. And I will tell you, that smoke smells very funky. This whole range smells kind of weird right now. Disgusting, actually. But that's a lot of foot-pounds of energy that just got delivered with a very unique projectile moving at such a high rate of speed. All right, wham, there we go. There's some good grenading. That's actually very uniformed grenading. I would say most of those petals or pieces have landed between 4.5 and 5 inches, but they're very uniform how they spread out. They look very sharp. That's pretty crazy. And then the wound channel does go down pretty straight, at least from this side view. I'm going to call it at 13.5, 13.75 inches. And I'm not sure. I think it's maybe facing backwards, but it definitely did a job of penetrating. All right, there we go. Side by side from the top, we can see a lot of charring out of that one that came out of the carbine. Definitely had some super violence there. That's a lot of that smoke. You all just saw it exhaust right back out of this block. But side by side, you see that it seems to be a more violent, of course, explosion with that longer barrel, increased velocity. They did a kind of like a weird little wandering, but they're not too crazy. This one kind of scooped this way and that one kind of scooped down that way. You can see that one beat the other, but the violence in the beginning definitely slows it down out of the carbine. So I think there's always a trade-off, kind of like when you use 9mm out of a shorter barrel versus a 5-inch barrel. One might penetrate more than the other one, but the other one gets more violent to go ahead and make up for it. All right, we've removed one sample of each. Here is the Liberty Civil Defense. Here's the Liberty Overwatch. They've shattered and shed all of their extra petals and hollow points. They're just left with this base. All right, the Civil Defense does appear to have a little bit of a shorter base left over than the Overwatch, but we'll have the weights of the leftovers up in the corner, of course. And as far as the back, we pretty much look identical. Well, there you go. I think we got some pretty good information out of that. We definitely increased performance with a 16-inch barrel, but out of the handguns, that ammunition, either one of them is no slouch either. Light for caliber projectiles are always interesting. Let me know what you think about this test we did today. We're going to be doing plenty more ammo tests just like this. We're just going to compare stuff from the pistol to the carbine. So I hope you enjoyed this testing today. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button and share it with someone else who might like it. If you're not already subscribed, you should, because you're missing out. Thank you for watching this video, and until we see you next time, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.